So quite an interesting journey. 10 years of entrepreneurship followed by an MBA from one of the leading B schools in the world. And then back into entrepreneurship in the same space, but a very different approach, I guess. Hi folks, this is Ankit, your host for Traction Talks. Today we have someone very special, a seasoned edtech entrepreneur with 15 years of journey in this space, a mid-career MBA from MIT, and currently he's doing something very interesting in the student counselling space. He runs Alum-n-i and Gradcircle and has mentored thousands of students, partnered with hundreds of schools. So as we call founders who've dared to think outside the box and creating their own path, I'd like to bring in Prashant and let him do a quick introduction about himself.
Thanks, Ankit. Thanks for hosting me. The idea, of course, has been that I have been in education for so many years, and it started by chance. I was myself preparing for my own MBA like any other graduate student did in the early 2000s. Joined IMS, where I started mentoring, counseling students, and realized that this is such a beautiful space, working closely with students, and the change that you bring in their lives, the impact that you can make. And that's how it grew. That's how the education space grew on me. And that's where I also started a career coaching and study abroad counseling company, which was Admit Square Consulting, ISB Mantra, so a couple of ventures in that first 10 years of my journey, and we'll talk more about that. We'll love to talk about my recent ventures, which is Alum-n-i and Gradcircle, and these have been, of course, post MIT, because the first 10 years, which was in the education services space, that gave me a lot of insights about working with students. But beyond that, I realized that there is so much more that can be solved at scale, and those were the motivations to start Alum-n-i and Gradcircle.
So quite an interesting journey. 10 years of entrepreneurship followed by an MBA from one of the leading B schools in the world. And then back into entrepreneurship in the same space, but a very different approach, I guess. So what triggered the shift to an MBA from MIT, and how has life changed after that?
Right, so having mentored so many students to the top business schools, say brands, because it's a dream for anyone to study at a Stanford, MIT, Harvard, and having coached so many students, I was never away from that dream. But I had also seen enough students take that plunge without knowing why they are diving into that commitment, where they don't know the money and time that they will be spending. What will it be for? But for me, it was important to take that plunge when I was ready. And I was looking. So interestingly, going to MIT was not to find my calling. It was to build on what I was building.
Sure.
So that helped me really well, because when I was there, I was able to focus on the right things. I was able to focus on entrepreneurship. I mean, being on the dean's list was not the top of my list, but being mentored by some of the top VCs in the US, being able to incubate my startup at MIT, being able to get the right ecosystem, get the right network. So those were the biggest takeaways, and that was one of the biggest reasons I committed to that, because studying in the US is a big commitment, both in terms of time and money, especially when you're already running a company. So and it came at an interesting time, because also the fact that I had run a venture for almost 10 years as a founder, as the CEO. So when you move out of it and take an external perspective, you are able to bring in new people. And that's where we were able to bring in a CEO for the ongoing business. And now, even when I returned, that model continues, and now I'm able to focus on the new things that I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's something very interesting. So, somebody like me stepping out of the business and handing it to someone else to run day to day is still something that I'm trying to figure it out. And it's a good thing that you step out of the business for 2 years and then, the business is still sort of continuing and growing without you. That's something, it needs a lot of frameworks and a lot of courage to do so. So what are your insights on that part of life?
So I wouldn't say that it was completely planned. It was more of because you are stepping away, you are committing to something larger.
Correct.
So at that point, the primary goal was to sustain what was going on. And when I got into that mindset where, okay, let's bring in an outsider to run the business, The idea was, let's see what's the worst that can happen. It will not grow, but let's just ensure that it sustains. But interestingly, what happened is, you have been doing things in a certain way over the years. And now when you look at it from outside, you are not just able to make strategic contributions, but you're able to also set up systems that will help the business grow. And this is what happened. So we had our fair share of success and growth after this new person came in, and now he has been able to bring in a lot of energy, a lot of systems in place. And of course, being at MIT, you learn things, you are able to then contribute in those ways. So it has helped in that way. But then the way it has also helped is when you set out to do something larger, Alum-n-i and Gradcircle. So then you bring that perspective, you zoom out and you then zoom in here and say, okay, now this is how you build teams, this is how you build a culture, this is how you build a system. So it has helped me both in my ongoing venture as well as the new ventures that we built.
Perfect. So Prashant, EdTech industry, we've seen the best, we've seen the worst. Baiju almost gone down the drains. Physics Wala going for an IPO, still going strong. There's a lot of consumer demand. There is a large market out there. But why such variance in this industry? I mean, what's happening out there?
Indeed, EdTech is a very interesting space, not just because I operate in this space, but also because, like you said, there's so much variance. Investors are very wary of whether to invest in this space, not. There's a lot of investment, and I think COVID had a lot to do with it because there were so many EdTech startups that got funded in that time that as an investor, you probably burnt your hands. You invested in ideas that were very temporary, fragile, COVID oriented. And then what one has to understand is students are not going to stay online. They are not going to, there is no way that even with all the AI, all the tech, that schools and colleges and the education system can be replaced with tech.
Okay.
Tech can be an enabler. And a lot of these companies, what they tried to build was either supplement or replace learning. And Vaibhav, one of our mentors, he says something very beautiful, that education is a great space, large space, but students don't want to learn more than they are already learning. And we are trying to push a lot of learning down the throat. So I think what Byju's was building was a lot. It kind of boomed, and Vedantu as well. There are a couple of other companies where there was a lot of growth during COVID, unprecedented. That was because students had nothing to do. They were not going to school, and their routine was fairly free. But then back to routine, you and I know how much students have to play more than learn. And the idea is now what Physics Wala, which you mentioned, is growing well, is doing well. They're not trying to replace anything. They're not trying to. So unless you're solving a problem, unless you are solving for what students really want to learn already, instead of trying to bring in new learning which they don't need, or trying to meddle with the core curriculum of what they may want to learn. Because Coursera or all the skill building for mid-career professionals is a very different model. You cannot just pick it and put it in the school ecosystem.
So what's so unique that you're doing in this space, and what's the exact problem you're solving? Who are the competitors, and what's happening there?
So for us, we leveraged all this learning and understood that for students, especially the fact that we are operating a lot in the K-12 space, or rather K9 to K-12, and there is a lot of shift in the way students are exploring careers. They are learning all right, they're developing those skills, but then the way they're looking at careers is very different. I remember growing up in my, let's say, grade 10th or 11th, someone asked me, what do you want to do? And probably you and your friends, a standard answer would be, I would crack IIT and then go to an IIM, do an MBA. It was a very easy, very good answer. But ask the same question today to a kid, more than 50% would not even name an IIT or IIM, and they don't care about these brands. They care about a career that's fulfilling. They care about new careers. Just off camera, we were talking about psychology and so many new streams coming up. So there is huge diversification of careers. And not just diversification in terms of the range of things that students are doing, right? From sports analytics to psychology to filmmaking, writing, because there are more opportunities that have cropped up. And there is also diversification in terms of geographies. I have had, working with students now, we also get to interact with a lot of schools and parents. The parents who themselves studied at an IIT, and they don't mind saying that I don't want my kid to go through that struggle, because you and I know that cracking IIT is hard work, and parents want to give a more comfortable life to their kids, and they also draw this confidence somewhere from the range of opportunities out there. That if you're best in photography, you'll figure out your way. If you're best in psychology, you'll figure out your way. You don't need to be an IITian to only be successful in career.
So how are you solving for this new career opportunity that is emerging?
So that is the base we are building on. That is the premise that with the range of opportunities and the fact that students are exploring more, one of our core, and both Alumni and Gradcircle, the core proposition is authentic connections. So Alumni is a community of alumni from any university. We have 3,000 plus alumni. Think of LinkedIn for study abroad.
Understood.
So you want to study music, playing the guitar and studying music are two different things. Music is a science. Now, if you want to study music, your parent may discourage you, your counselor may encourage you, but then still you don't have an answer. Only talking to someone who has studied music, only understanding the kind of work that you need to put in, the kind of careers that a bachelor's or a master's in music will open up, you will know whether it's for me. So this community is enabling students to understand what they are getting into from authentic individuals who have traveled that path. And that is the community we are building at Alumni. We have 3,000 plus alumni from 300 plus universities globally, right from Australia to Netherlands to Germany, any country, any university you can think of. Students will be able to find good match and have that authentic conversation where they make informed decisions.
Understood.
And that's Alumni. Now we've taken this to the next level at Gradcircle, where instead of just conversations, you are able to work closely with mentors from different fields. So as a student, you want to explore influencer marketing. So work with someone who has worked in the field of influencer marketing, do a mini project, and high school students from 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grades are doing this. So our mentors they are not academicians, our mentors are not people who are just remotely knowledgeable about the field. Our mentors are people who have their hands dirty in that field, in that area. To give you some examples, our AI mentor is someone who is working with Microsoft AI. Our data science mentor is someone who is a data scientist at Unilever. Our writing and filmmaking mentor is someone who is a national award winner, who was the writer and director for one of the series on Netflix. So these are the kind of mentors we have. So as a student, if you want to explore AI, as a student, if you want to explore data science, if you want to explore medicine, law, there are so many students who are fascinated by law because they watch Suits and they watch some movie where they see the glamour of defending a case in the court. But that's not how careers are decided. So now they get to do a mini project with a lawyer from, let's say, Namachan Mangaldas, and understand what is it about? Is it made for me? We had a student from Meerut, and why I bring it up is because this is not only students from Bangalore, Bombay, Delhi, Hyderabad. These are students everywhere. The problem is the same. This student was confused between studying economics and architecture. Now, how does he decide? So he did a mini project, which is 4 weekends online and with the mentor up close. And he did a project in economics. He did a project in, economics means business, and he did a project in architecture. And then he understood what his interests were, what were the skills required, what are the career opportunities in those fields. And now the decision that he makes, which will be much more informed than influenced by the environment outside.
Understood. So these are the projects that I used to do as an MBA in my college days, seek the exposure to different sectors. Bringing that to the school level and sort of giving them real industry exposure sounds very unique and makes a lot of sense because somebody can take an informed decision. So thank you for that. What are the quality frameworks in the business? How do you ensure that the mentorship is going in the right direction, the student is happy with the guidance that he is getting, especially when you have so many mentors and thousands of students getting engaging with high quality mentors, industry stalwarts, as you say. How do you ensure that as a business you have a high satisfaction score across both your engagement partners?
That's a very valid question, because the moment we talk about human interface where students are able to interact directly with mentors, the quality component, and then add to that the safety and security, and especially when we are talking of high school students, and we draw a lot of learning for that based on what we built at ISB Mantra and at Mid Square, where for the last 10 years, when there were not so much tech and AI at that point, we were already working with 50 plus mentors from the top schools like the ISB and IIMs and the NCRs of the world. And we were able to build models, build frameworks where there were standard quality checks, there were standard frameworks where even if an individual was mentored by someone from NCR or ISB, we were able to maintain that consistent quality across the mentorship layers. Here, the scale is not 10x, probably 100x that we are looking at. So we already have 100 plus mentors. We are looking at, in the next 12 months, onboarding another 500 mentors. We have about 50 schools working with us. We are looking at working with 200 plus schools. So that many students. So the idea of consistent quality and quality checks becomes important. We have been fortunate with the growth in AI, with the growth in tech. It has played a strong role in ensuring. So all our sessions are recorded, all our sessions are analyzed, and a lot of it is automatic. We don't really have to put in manual effort in that. So tech has been a great enabler, but then before that, we set the right systems in place so that the curriculum, the way the projects are delivered, all that is well defined. And then, of course, fortunate to have a good team that is able to take care of the day-to-day operations with the right scale.
Okay. So, Prashant, in this era where students have a lot more career choices, as you said, with that comes a lot more confusion also, I guess, right? So there are too many choices and everybody's trying to fix a career for their family, whether it's the parents or whether it's the kids themselves. And there are a lot of influences around. There's a traditional career counselling route, and there is somebody in the family who's well educated. And then the parents themselves, if they're educated, they want to sort of steer that decision. So how is this sort of evolving, and what should a kid do? What should a parent do in this new era of diversified career choices?
Right, and like you said, it's a very interesting time, because not just students but even parents are confused.
Yeah.
And whatever range of choices that the parents had themselves, some of them are now, we are talking of ChatGPT, we are talking of AI, we are talking of TCS laying off almost 12,000 people recently. So the job market is changing, the kind of work that we were doing and we have been doing are changing. So you can't practically prepare your kid for a career right now, because we don't know what careers will exist 10 years, 15 years from now. So one, the parents don't have an answer to what careers, but they should start looking at answers to what skills. Because if the students or if the kids of this generation can focus on the right skills, and that's all the more important because now knowledge has been fairly democratized. So whatever, there was the entire real estate market has been built on a few people knowing where are the apartments and offices available. So any area of knowledge that came as an advantage 10 years ago is now not an advantage. So unless students and parents focus more on skills than just collecting knowledge, neither the parents nor the kids may be prepared for what's coming. And that's where these projects that we talked about, where students are able to explore their core skill set, understand what's made for them. Parents should also work towards developing that support system for their kids, because there is just so much going on out there. There's just so much that the students have or the kids have exposure to, that they may need support in the right decision making. And that's where parents need to play a role of more as a mentor than just a father. And another area that is very important is helping kids develop a strong emotional quotient, because
I was coming to that. Yes.
So the kind of news that we hear and read about, the kind of pressure that students have to go through. So it is important that when they come back home, they know that I have my ecosystem which I can trust, which will not judge me, and which will support me in whatever I want to try. And once they have that confidence, I believe even at an age where parents were not so aware of what an emotional quotient could be, I was fortunate to grow up in a family where all that I could do was because my parents trusted me and gave me that confidence to do what I wanted and to and go and try out things and fail, and it was fine to fail. So these are the kind of things that parents should focus on and not really worry too much. One of the parents called me up because we have been into career coaching, and one of my friends network, this parent asked me, hey, I want to send my daughter to a Harvard or a Stanford kind of university, an Ivy League, the dream that all of us chased, and now we are chasing for our kids. So we had a good conversation for about 10 minutes on how they should build profile and skills and focus on passion and what the student would like to pursue, etc. And then 10 minutes of the conversation, when I asked, okay, which grade is your kid in? And it turns out the kid is in 3rd grade. So this is where parents are going wrong, where they are looking at outcomes more than the process. So help your kid enjoy what they are doing, understand their passions, and then build on that.
Sure. So more on skills, as you said. So there's technical skills, and you covered emotional skills as well. What can the kid do, or what can the parents do with the kids in terms of activity? Let's say K9 to K12, which is the core segment for us. What should the parents do to develop the right kind of emotional skills and sort of technical skills? Any thought process around that?
Right. So I would think there are enough technical skills that the schools are trying to, and thankfully the schools have evolved well in the last few years. So there are enough technical skills that the schools are working on. There are enough tools and apps and platforms which students can leverage to develop their presentation skills, their communication skills. So parents can play a very strong role in developing their EQ, their emotional skills. And for that, the one thing that the parents would really need to do is spend time with their kid. And that is something that is missing in this age where all of us are busy, all of us are chasing large dreams, but then the fact that you can spend time with your kid and observe their learning patterns can play a huge role. The fact that, a tutor can very well teach a kid the same way they have been tutoring 20 other kids, but every kid has their own way of learning and grasping concepts and developing their own worldview. And if you can spend that time with your kid and appreciate the way they are learning, then you double down on that, and then you also grow with your kid in terms of how to teach and how to train and how to help build those emotional aspects which your kid needs to develop.
Understood. So what you're trying to say is the external world cannot be a personalized coaching, is not ready to offer a very, very personalized coaching institute, coaching to the kids. And it's the parents' responsibility to ensure that they identify how the kid is grasping new concepts and do more of that to make sure they become more sharper. But is no one solving for this to understand? There are a lot of research around what are the patterns for kids to understand things, and there are a lot of schools and startups, I guess, who are trying to understand which pattern works best for which kid and then do more of that for them. So is that something that is working out, or it's still on the parents to be the feeding engine for that?
I wouldn't rule out the role of the parents still, but yes, we are at an interesting time where if you were to ask me today, what is that one big thing that is going to develop in the field of education and learning, you're right, it will be personalized learning. There is personalized medicine, which a lot of us have talked about, but personalized learning is something where We have great opportunity right now. The school ecosystem, the online ecosystem have all been able to impart mass learning till now. But with the advent of AI, with the speed at which it is growing, with the speed at which one is able to personalize every task, and with agentic AI, there will be a lot of personalization coming in. But then businesses are able to personalize things because they know that these are the things to be personalized. If I am the customer, if I am and the customer is a kid, they don't know what they need to personalize. So, which means that we are hoping that a kid will build an agent to personalize their own learning, because only I can build my own agent, right? Someone else building, the moment someone else starts building my agent, they are building it for you and for you and for you, right? So as a customer, I will always be a kid, because the moment I grow out of 12, then the market is different. So which means that no matter what's developed out there, it will still not be as personalized as what a parent can build. So yes, there is huge opportunity in personalized learning in the next 20 years that we see, but it will have its own limitations because the customer that we are talking about doesn't know what they want.
Understood. Thank you.